Cool, cool. All right. So, or again, I'm sure more people will hop on, but today we are going to talk about hidden factors in that, I guess, what do you say that can influence or dictate uh, the type of sales funnel you create and how you optimize it. And I think this is pretty cool. Um, I'll show you all, I'll be sharing my screen in a second. Kind of got away from me in a little bit in the context of like I started with a few hidden factors and then I asked ChatGPT, which does sort of know my world, like because now ChatGPT like memorizes stuff for other hidden factors. And it gave me like this whole list of hidden factors and like examples and like a framework that can dictate your funnel structure. And it was actually all really solid. So I started like editing that and I started trying to find examples for like 15 factors. And I'm like, I'm gonna fucking overload everybody to death if I try to go too deep. So um but I went through everything I got. I'm not just sort of like, here's what ChatGPT told me. Like it's like obviously went through and kind of will talk about it. But I think it'll be interesting to say the least. So let me go ahead and share here. And I'll show you guys like the AI. I'll show you like what I'm talking about with that. I was like, hey, I'm doing this training for my CA Pro members on hidden factors that determine the best funnel structure to use. Hidden factors I've listed, market awareness levels, demonstrable proof, pricing, came up with a full list. And it came up with this like actually really good list. Then I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go through this list step by step. But I was like, wait, what about, my original three? And it's like, oh yeah, cool. So it gave me those as well. And then it created this sort of like scoring rubric, and we're going to talk about that. But I did make some edits and changes, and I'll share this document after the call here. So we'll start by kind of going through what these factors are. And then we'll do our best to look at examples. And by I've had Gemini doing case studies and it's gone through 362 websites. And that's one thing I do want to share is like of deep research. I used what is it, Perplexity to sort of look for case studies after I had this and like examples of funnels. Um, it went a lot of like LinkedIn and things like that. So it's all interesting. I'll share all this research with you guys, but it's a lot of like content you would go read to see people's case studies on things, but it is interesting. ChatGPT kind of did the same thing, and I'm curious to see what Google does, but there's still some interesting stuff here as well. So let's sort of start by going through like a broad overview. Where this all stems from is I think a lot of times there can still be confusion about what sort of funnel you need, right? And it kind of depends on what you're selling and what the state of the market and all these other things. That's what these factors are. So a lot of you have seen, my telemedicine company like GetFin. I'll go to it right now. We just made some compliance edits, but this is our homepage. We do run to some landers, through Meta and Google that are pretty comparable to this. There's a few other things. What's cool, by the way, this is actually based on our own patient data. So we actually got a bunch of patient data back and we can make a bunch of claims. So on average, like 600 and something patients, the average person across all ages lost 9.6 pounds in their first 30 days. So it's pretty cool to have like your own data saying that really works. But I bring this up because when you look at something like a GLP-1 medication, and this is going to tie into like awareness, right? There's Eugene Schwartz's stages of awareness, and there's sort of most aware or product aware, where they basically know either your brand exists and you sell a product, and they're like interested in it. That's most aware. Product aware, right? Like okay, like I know that GLP-1 injections exist. I want them. I just haven't done it yet. Down to like sort of solution aware. Like I know that GLP-1, the difference between, let's say, product aware and solution aware for GLP-1s, for example, right? Product aware is like, I know that there's people online, telemedicine companies offering me access to GLP-1 medications. Where solution aware is like, well, I know GLP-1 medications exist. I don't necessarily know about telemedicine companies. Problem aware, I'm tired of overweight, but I haven't linked it to a GLP-1. Unaware is like, I wouldn't really typically bother with unaware people. We can talk about all these things in more detail. But unaware is, like I don't even really realize I have a problem. So I guess unaware is like your friend who's an alcoholic before you have an intervention with them. You know what I mean? Like that's like they don't even know they have a problem. Other people know, but they don't know. They're pretty hard to sell to, right? So if I think about GetThin, which is your telemedicine company that we're, trying pretty hard to sell for over $100 million by the end of the year. We'll see, but we're making good progress on it, so fingers crossed. Really, like, our ads are like little static ads. I'll find an ad example to show you guys. And it goes to like a lander like this with just sort of like a headline, basic stuff. And the copy is very minimal. We have some social proof in here. Medications are the super ugly, awful like thing we have to put now because of like the constant regulatory environment, changing environment. How they work, backed by data. This looks terrible, but we just signed this guy, someone I've known for 10 years. He's a former White House physician to Bill Clinton and Al Gore and their families, and he was in the Navy for 20 plus years. He's on the board of the American Academy of Nutrition. So we want to get him on mobile, by the way. It looks like way less stupid, fortunately, because then this is sort of it doesn't look so bad mobile, which is where most of our traffic comes from. Well, summary and that, and it goes into like a medical questionnaire. People can be pre-approved. And then after doctor reviews, they get their medication. Many of you have seen me talk about GetThin, but for those who haven't, like, cool, right? So that's basically the whole lander. And, we did obviously like 20 million last year. We'll probably end up doing somewhere in 40, 50 million this year. We were on track to easily do over 100 million, but we're actually slowed down because that's what the investment bankers have told us to do. They're basically like, focus less on growth and more on EBITDA. So like, okay, EBITDA is basically your profit after everything's said and done, because then you get a multiple on EBITDA when you sell. Can always talk about that more on a future call. It's fun for me to learn all this stuff, but really pretty basic asset, right? No advertorial, no VSL, just static ad to this page to a questionnaire or a variant of this page. Again, we do have some variants with a little more like save, special sale, like blah, 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 things like that. Save $150. And the reason why it comes back to awareness, right? That's what I realized really fast with saying I GetThin was that even like a year and a half or 2 years ago, I guess something like a year and a half ago, people were really aware. They knew that GLP-1 medications existed. They were just like, where do I find them? What's the price? Can I trust the person I'm getting them from? That was it, right? And so that was like all we had to do, right? And so this is an initial factor, right? It's important because if your market is hyper aware of a solution and it's like a solution you offer, and you could put belief into this too, I've talked about before, and they believe that the solution works, then there's just no reason to have like long form copy, right? Do you need a long ass VSL? Do you need all that stuff? Probably not, right? And one thing you're gonna see as we go through these is there's like a rating system. I actually inverted going back to like why I'm not showing you what ChatGPT did. They had it sort of in a weird way that I reverted. But basically, I inverted it. Basically, for each of these factors, when I give you this, you can kind of rate yourself from 1 to 5. And what you'll see at the end to jump way ahead is you can use that as a general guideline for how like fat your funnel needs to be, right? So for example, GetThin, assuming that rate's above a 46 when we go through these factors, add product page cart. It's like, well, yeah, that's what we're doing. Works pretty well, right? Mid-level, when you go through these factors, add to like a quiz or advertorial. I don't think you have to have a VSL. I might edit this here again. So this whole thing has got more elaborate in the final hour as I was preparing for this call, but I liked it, so I went with it. Let's say for long form. Right? And heavy is like, as you'll see, add potentially a story pre-sell, 35-minute, 45-minute VSL lander, checkout, possible ascension email. So I'm gonna make a little edits to this. Basically, like the idea here is like and it's gonna make sense already intuitively. Like think about in the world of like a ClickBank VSL, and I have examples we'll talk about for all kinds of niches and things like that, right? You could argue for financial VSLs too, even stuff like that. It's like if you're selling like a weight loss supplement, like when like the ClickBank world, and there's a billion other weight loss supplements, and people are sort of jaded and like, they like don't, the price point is perceived as high compared to buying a supplement on Amazon and all these other factors we'll talk about. It kind of makes sense why people need to have like a way longer funnel, right? Whereas if you're selling a medication everybody knows about, cool, right? If you're selling like an investment opportunity, but it's sort of something nobody's heard of, and it's spokespeople who maybe have a bit of credibility, blah, 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 you can see why this might need to happen, okay? So going back to factors, it won't let me highlight this one in yellow. These are all supposed to be yellow. I don't know why. Let me try it. Oh, you know what? Maybe this. There we go. Okay. All right. So that's like one factor, right? So if you go to like Get Thin, for example, you probably rate that one as like a 5. Okay. And remember, the higher the rating, the less copy you need to have. What about demonstrable proof, right? The visual wow. So we have here is like, this is like I've talked about this before, right? And like, it was on my list before I even talked to ChatGPT, but like, if you have a product where you can just easily prove that it works, like really demonstrate that it works very quickly, then you just don't need super long copy assets. And this is true of like, whether you're selling in a really pure e-com version, or you still want to do more direct response oriented stuff. Like you just don't need a bunch of copy if like, you can just show really fast that it works, right? So like examples of what would this look like, right? Like a teeth whitening device potentially, where you could show a video of like person using it and then like, time lapse like 1 hour later. Or OxiClean would be a classic example, right? Most of you probably know what OxiClean is. Like a cleaner, you spray it on, like famous infomercials, right? Which Ron Lynch, who's kind of peripheral to our space, helped with some of them. Billy Mays sold it, famous pitch guy. So like spray it. Oh my God, look at this, the stain's gone. You know what I mean? Like something like that. You don't need a bunch of testable proof. An instant wrinkle remover would be similar to that, right? So they're kind of great products because if you have immediate demonstrable proof that something works very quickly and is an instant visual payoff, then less long copy. What's really interesting here, that example in a second, is that there is sort of a way to circumvent this, because the question becomes, okay, what if I sell like a supplement, right? Okay, I sell like a supplement, so I need longer copy, animations, blah, blah, blah. Like that's true, but what you'll find is people who sell like a supplement, or someone who sells, like even you sell neuro, or sells like a foot massager, or like a gadget, people who have those really good little animations in their videos that show you exactly how it's working and why it's working, that does sort of serve a similar purpose, which is why you will see a lot of people who are running like in-feed type of ads on Meta or wherever else, like kind of mini VSLs, 1 to 8 minutes long, maybe 10 minutes long, right? Like why are they able to get away with kind of like shorter copy? And it's usually because they have really good animation videos in there that like show like the product working, show, oh, look at this, the enzymes going into your gut and now it gets into here. Or my wife saw something for a baby bottle that was like showing why the suction of a baby with this bottle really replicates like a nipple for breastfeeding moms, whereas other baby bottles don't. And she watched the animation and she was like, I get it, right? So even though just showing a baby sucking out a bottle is like demonstrable proof, but you're like, well, how do I know it's working? That animation sort of carries it over the edge. So this would be the second thing that you look at. I mean, I had this like purple mattress example just because one of the AI things gave it to me, but it's not bad. It's way more branded than what a lot of folks in here do, but it's not a bad video. It had 86 million views. Let me share audio. I'll share real quick. I might as well watch it. It's fast. It's sort of like that funny, like Harmon Brothers back in the day type of style. But let me see, share computer sound. Pull it up real quick.
For grid made from a. I'm here to prove.
So this is really to look at demonstrable proof, and you'll see why in a second, right?
The Purple mattress blows memory foam out of the bedroom. Only Purple passes the durability test, body heat test, and the all-new HED test, or human egg drop test for the layman. The best test to determine a mattress's comfort and support. Ready, Billy? No, I just accepted. Perfect. Just look at how the Purple Smart Comfort Grid, made from a super comfy yet ultra supportive material called hyperelastic polymer, cradled those unfertilized chickies. And yeah, they're pretty real. Now, how about that memory foam? Take her up. Ready, Billy? Great. See, unlike memory foam, Purple's unique design cradles your pressure points and redistributes support to the rest of your body, leaving your spine properly aligned. So no more back pain, no matter your body type, sleeping position, or frequency of nightmare. Oh, gee! Especially the ones starring your boss. So what is...
Anyway, I'm not gonna watch the whole ad. Like, again, kind of branded, funny, whatever, right? I get most of us aren't doing production value of that level, but it is actually a really good example of like demonstratable proof. Like for a mattress too, which is kind of cool, right? Like literally drop this dude, bunch of eggs, Velcro to his back, eggs don't break. That's why our mattress is different. Meanwhile, normal mattress, drop it, eggs break, those mattresses suck, ours is better. Like, that's like, how do you sell like a, multi-$1,000 mattress without, like long form through e-commerce and actually blow it up? Like, that's sort of a huge part of how, right? And so that's what's interesting too, because you think about pricing as being like, that for a longer price point, or sorry, higher price point, you need to have way longer copy. And it's like usually true. But if you can really have legit demonstrable proof of your product superiority, then it's not necessarily true, right? So actually, I think that's a pretty cool example. And so that brings us to the price point and perceived spend, right? And this is like a thing that should also be pretty intuitive. This is number 3, which is like lower ticket stuff needs less justification, higher ticket stuff, GBT put amplifies risk, but basically this needs more justification, right? It kind of makes sense. I don't know if I like less than $50 equals Microlander or two-step opt-in. I think that's silly, but I would say less than $9. I would put like anything from like, I guess, $10, right? And then, but basically this is pretty accurate. If you look at like, if you've ever gotten like a free plus shipping book or something like that, often it's part of an ascension funnel, right? Or a free trial on like a supplement or whatever it is, generally, or a webinar opt-in, right? Where you're selling the opt-in to a webinar, you're not selling like whatever you're gonna sell in the webinar. Like you don't need a lot of copy, right? That should be pretty obvious because you're like the risk and like the barrier to commitment is pretty low. Like, hey, it's free, get this free book, best-selling book, just enter your, just pay for shipping, $4.99 or whatever it is, right? Whereas once you start to get into something that is priced a bit higher, yeah, like VSLs can often work. This doesn't mean always, but these are like sort of like where you'll find more likely to do longer. This is where this little thing I'm talking about, this rating thing, will actually come in handy, because you might be like, okay, well, yeah, I'm more than $10, so I need a VSL. And it's like, well, maybe, but like rate this one, rate each of the ones, and then you can use that to kind of figure out what makes the most sense. I know there's a couple of things in the chat, so I'm gonna look real quick and see what those were. Yeah, we'll upload things. So yeah, we'll upload the doc with the recording and everything like that. You'll get access in Circle for sure. Okay, this is another one that I keep want to say it should be obvious, but I don't want to be insulting if it's not obvious, because I have a lot of experience here, and for some of you it is, some of you it might not be, right? But let's take the traffic temperature, right? Basically, simple thing we're saying here is that colder traffic, typically you need more copy to convert them than really warm traffic, right? Again, this shouldn't really make a lot of sense. Like if you sell something to your email list and you have a list and it's pretty warm and you have a good connection with them, then typically you don't need to send them to like a whole VSL for some new offer. You could send them to like a pretty short landing page, product page, whatever it is, right? Versus if you are going after like stone cold traffic, typically as a rule of thumb, you're going to need more steps to convert them. Like again, you might need an advertorial, you might need VSL, whatever it is, right? That should kind of make sense too. So that was pretty self-explanatory, I feel. And so is number 5. I actually think this list is super valuable. I think it was really cool. So I was pretty excited and geeking out. And I do want to go through like all the examples, but I don't want to be too ADD. I want to see what Gemini pulled up. So let me go through the whole list. Hopefully, if I just share examples like verbally, that's enough. I know people like visual examples too, but hopefully this is all making sense and you're picking up what I'm putting down overall and everything. Brand equity and credibility, right? Is sort of like if you allow brand equity, or there's like a celebrity founder or even endorser, typically need less copy and a less long funnel. Typically. So obviously on a really ultra brand equity side, it's like Coca-Cola, right? Coca-Cola doesn't need to sell you Coca-Cola through like a VSL, right? It's just like it's fucking Coca-Cola. Like you're like, You know what Coca-Cola is. We know Coca-Cola. Everyone knows what Coca-Cola is, right? Awareness is peak. Like, you want it, it's Coke. Buy it, right? But you also will see this with celebrity people. And so you might find, back in the day, for example, for a lot of like black hat free trial stuff would like put like, Jennifer Aniston or some other celebrity on it. It'd be a landing page for like some, free trial of like some miracle skincare or keto product or whatever it is. And while that was black hat, the idea, one of the reasons why it works so well is because there's like a known celebrity. They're claiming that the celebrity endorses the product. So you don't need a whole VSL of the celebrity endorsing the product. It's like, boop, there you go. Yes, there are VSLs that have celebrities in them. Like obviously, if you look at what Golden Hippo does, for example, or arguably, what Agora does. We looked at that financial VSL from a few weeks ago, and you had the guy who was like a, may not household name to the average person, but a household name to like a 50 plus conservative demo. So it doesn't mean you would never do a VSL, but generally the more a brand is known, the less long copy you need. And by the way, one other interesting observation I would say is that is part of the advantage of building a brand. Like I'm getting like different strokes for different folks, like running kind of like, aggressive VSLs on ClickBank, like which some people want to do when you can make shit tons of money. We had, one of our members did 60 million for Q1 and was the number one vendor on ClickBank. Great, right? That works awesome, right? But one of the advantages of actually building a brand is over time, the more your brand is recognized, the kind of the lazier you can be with your funnels. That's not really true because you're still split testing all this shit. But like what I mean is like, people talk about wanting to build a brand. And so early on when you have a brand, like yes, maybe long form copy makes sense. But if you can actually build a brand that's really well known and recognized, then you might find that like the VSL stop being as necessary, right? And you just gain stuff from like UGC, social proof, like little ads mentioning your brand that go to like product pages for new SKUs. Like the more aware of your brand the market is, the less, and presumably favorably aware, the less copy is required, right? So it's kind of something interesting to think about too. This one is like, okay, perceived risk and required risk reversal. And so essentially, I did think it was interesting the way this got framed, but like the less risk, the easier, the less copies needed, like in general again. So what does that mean? Like think about it, like again, free plus shipping book funnel. Hey, put in your info, I'm gonna send you a free copy of my best-selling book. Just pay shipping is $5, right? No subscription, no rebill, blah, blah, blah. $5, super transparent. Here's a bunch of social proof, right? People like it, it's real. We'll get the social proof in a bit later. But like, bam. It's like, all right, like pretty easy, not a lot of hurdles, right? But going back to like an unknown brand, especially if you don't have a lot of reviews or in the world of like a ClickBank VSL, whatever it is, where it's sort of like something somebody's ever heard of before, like just from a awareness level, the less aware they are, the more risky you are, right? And so as a result of that, the more risky you are, the more time you need to kind of take, often being like, hey, we're not risky, you can trust us. And that comes down to social proof and other things of that nature. It talked about sort of like, like longer testimonials, ingredients for supplements, guarantee, FAQ. I think it all makes a lot of sense, right? Low risk, you don't necessarily need a whole FAQ for like a free plus shipping book. You should test it, but not as important. There's like the what if it fails? Because really there's this intersection of like, what's it going to cost and what if it fails, right? And if it's going to cost a lot of money, and I feel like there's a high probability of it failing, my resistance to buying is very high, right? So we have to justify the expenditure, obviously, or figure out the right pricing, and then we have to make them feel like the risk of failing is either the high probability of them not failing, or that's very safe because if they do fail, they're going to get taken care of, guaranteed, blah blah blah, right? So that's that one. There's 15 total. I'm through number 6. I'll pause for a minute before I keep going because I know I'm sharing a lot. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts as we go here? I want to make sure to answer those before I just fire hose through all 15. Feel free to unmute yourself if you do, or put it in the chat. Or not. Okay. Is this is it making sense what I'm sharing? Is it interesting? It's hard when you're just sharing off like a doc with just not a bunch of like visual examples, but like, are you picking up what I'm putting down, so to speak, right? Okay, cool. Mark said keep cooking. Cool. All right, sweet. Okay. So Mark, just make sure it's good. All right, cool. All right. So number 7, this is regulatory compliance load, right? So essentially, this is honestly not, this is kind of niche. The point on this one is if like you're in like a really highly regulated space, like for example, we are with telemed, you're gonna end up with more steps. So for example, telemedicine, yeah, there might be extra terms and services pages, but there's also like a whole eligibility quiz, right? You gotta go through this quiz, make sure that you actually qualify, whatever. If you're doing like a investment opportunity, you have to add in, know your customer things, stuff like that, right? So basically, those things are kind of mandatory often, but that's going to be like if you don't have to have any of that stuff, you're a 5. If you have to have some of that stuff, you're a lower score. Okay, this one was kind of good. I liked it, right? There's sort of offer complexity or choice overload, which is a true thing. I mean, this is one of the biggest challenges often is like when people try to sell D2C and they are creating bundles, like obviously bundles are great, right? Because they increase your AOV, make more money, it's awesome. But it can also create this sort of cognitive overload or decision paralysis, right? Because you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many options, so many choices, what do I do? And so if it's really simple, like, hey, like the simplest would be like, hey, buy 1 unit of this for this price, right? Or get it for free or whatever it is, right? Like just one thing, 1 unit, 1 price. That's like a 5 being least complex, right? Whereas if it's like hyper personalization, bunch of different options you should add in, you're trying to do that all on the front end, that's probably like a 1. It becomes really complex. Like, what do you do for that sort of thing? I mean, one thing is obviously like using interactive quizzes. Like people like Il Maquillage have done that really well. Eric Santiago, who's in our WhatsApp group and he's a partner of us in Opal, he was head of growth for Il Maquillage and helped them go from like 60 million to like a couple hundred million. Because then you essentially in those cases, right, then like someone goes through a quiz, you're making recommendations, you're taking in, like it's hard to do a quiz, right? People do quizzes, but they make them kind of half-assed, but like, and that's a whole nother training. We can do that in the future. I have Eric lead one on it, which I think would be great. But like, if you really are personalizing to what they need, and then you're bundling things in based on that, like that's a way that you get around it. But like in general, if there's an overload, and it's something to always think about when people try to bundle, a day and a night serum or whatever it is, right? Like makes sense for skincare, day and night, like it's like, but there's still more friction there than just selling one thing, right? So you need more funnel assets. It doesn't mean you need to have a longer VSL necessarily, but you might need a longer funnel and you might work something in like this, okay? Next one, number 9, would be like the importance of the LTV. The idea here is essentially like how many steps, right? Because if LTV is like really important, and your like business is built around it, then your funnel can be longer. So what does that mean? It means like you could have really multiple steps and touch points, right? You might have like little mini classes, like like little like webinar nurture webinars. Honestly, I would put like like nurture emails to like sorry, 1 second, let me do that. This like somebody comes in, it's almost like can be like almost like a lead gen and similar in that respect. If somebody comes in and you basically need to like nurture them, multiple emails, multiple touch points, get them on a webinar. That's not even a sales webinar. It might be like one where you pitch them, free little classes, whatever it is. And you can afford to take more time and have more touch points to try to get them to buy, because once they buy, that LTV is going to be so good, right? Whereas with a low ticket, for contrast, right, you're really just trying to like self-liquidate, right? Or and low ticket could vary, right? We're talking about like a free plus shipping or like $9.99. Like it's just like self-liquidate real quick, right? 1-click upsells, whatever it is, supplement. It's like same thing, right? Like trying to get a ROAS on day one or at least break even. Yeah, you're going to try to monetize the data on the back end, have one click upsells, but like this is sort of like not for things where you're not an LTV driven business. All right. So we got a few more to go. This one is actually pretty easy too. It should be kind of intuitive, which is like the urgency of a problem or an urgency of a pain point, right? So they put the example of a migraine today versus some kind of aspirational anti-aging later. And it's actually a good example that was used because, well, especially on the anti-aging, right? That's one of the hardest things with some products people sell. Like even like energy is like hard to sell for a supplement space, for example, right? Because it's like, if my pain point isn't that urgent, like I'm like, oh yeah, I want to age well, but I'm like, but I got time. I'm not aging doesn't happen overnight. That's kind of challenging. Whereas if I'm getting like acute migraines all the time, I'm like, give me a fucking migraine solution that actually works. And then there's all the other factors like credibility, social proof, awareness, all these other things, right? It plays together, but like that's a much easier sell. So if I'm like, this will fix your migraines. Here's like the social proof. I've created a brand that everyone knows fixes migraines. Like, I don't need as much copy, right? They have some notes on like headlines and stuff like that. Versus the anti-aging thing, yeah, you need a lot more kind of like, probably like a VSL showing like a transformational roadmap, how things are going to change. But frankly, honestly, even in that case, what you really need is like, I'm gonna put this here. An immediate pain point that is symptomatic of the long-term one. If I'm being real, that's actually what you really need generally, right? So anti-aging is like, hey, you're gonna get old. What if you didn't get old as fast? It's okay, right? But meanwhile, for like your knees hurt, you know what I mean? Like your joints are hurting, like, after 45, like you found that you struggle to lose weight or whatever, like some kind of like more acute pain point. Hey, that's part of getting older. This is gonna help, you fight back as a time, like not just, you'll have better mobility, your joints aren't going to hurt, but you're also going to have more energy, more libido. You might, right? You can kind of do the kitchen sink where you add all the other shit that's going to be great, but you still focus on one thing, right? If you go to BizUp, it's kind of the same thing. Like if you sell a course on like how to be a millionaire in 5 years from now, like in theory, that's actually a great proposition because most people never become millionaires. So it's like, wow, okay, 5 years from now, I can be a millionaire, great, right? But that's not the pain point right now. Right? The pain point right now is like you're broke and you're tired of being broke and you're in debt and you're in a 9-to-5 grind that you hate and you feel like you just don't have any path to like actually get ahead. You throw a little bit of money at random, like sort of make money online things, but they always are just full of shit. They ask you to spend more money than, they say they're going to. People don't get results. They're hard to implement, to implement, like whatever it is, right? So it's like you go find, like, be a millionaire in 5 years from now is a shitty offer. And you guys do BizUp and you know that. There's several people on this call, if they're still here, who do BizUp, right? So that's the shitty value prop. But like, kind of like get out of the 9-to-5, have more freedom, start making a few grand a month or whatever, plus, in your spare time, even if you don't have any training, background, technical knowledge, whatever it is, right? Become stronger. And with stronger BizUp, you wouldn't necessarily always need as long of a funnel. But again, that's going to depend on what it is. If it's a book, cool, you don't need a long funnel at all, right? If you're selling a $3,000, $5,000 coaching program, you're going to need a pretty involved funnel, right? Competitive saturation. This one is sort of kind of similar. Basically, if you have like a blue ocean, if you're like have a product that's solving a pain point or problem and nobody else is really talking about it, and you can demonstrate that it works or make it believable that it works, right? The faster you can get somebody to believe like that solution works, like the shorter your copy can be versus in an ultra crowded market. So what would that be? Well, BizUp, right? If you're doing FBA or whatever else it is, like weight loss supplements, like financial investing stuff, like the world of Agora, like anywhere there's a lot of noise. I mean, AI, right? Like make money for AI, whatever kind of stuff. Like, there's when it's a crowded market, you end up needing more copy for kind of what's said here. I mean, it says like, comparison charts, comparative teardown, pre-sell, like also just like, just differentiation, right? Like add that unique mechanism. And I'll add to this as I go, but like loads of social proof. You guys do connection with prospect. But add some of these things too, right? Because you basically need to do that. And if you look at the one that was funny on ChatGPT was doing examples, it had some good examples, and we can look at these after. The example it pulled actually has a bunch of good ones, Stansberry, all these things. It had, I think it was this one that had Alpaline. Or was it? Yeah, market sophistication, and actually used Alpaline, right, from ClickBank as like an example where they're basically like, everyone is doing these weight loss, supplements on ClickBank. So how do you do that? I mean, I'll share this research with you all so you can go through it. And it's like, it's pretty cool. It's interesting. They have some good things in here. And I'll do the one, I'll see a Gemini finish. Dude, Gemini's blacked out right now. 362 websites. I'm actually really excited. I hope it just gives me like actual links and land. It'll be so dope. But we'll find out. It's crazy. It's taking so long. So yeah, that's sort of saturation. If same day shoppability, to me, I don't like that they put it there. I don't really think that's like even here I just put competitive saturation. I don't really know the same day shop thing. I'll keep it in here for now, but I honestly don't really know what what they're talking about there on that one. This one was interesting. It's not one I would have considered on my own. I mean, I would have maybe, but like it's not like a really obvious one, I guess, which is buying context. So device and attention window. And it's sort of mentioned here, right? 8% of TikTok traffic buys or bounces in 30 seconds on mobile. So like that does make sense as far as like what's the dominant platform where traffic's coming from. So it's different from warm or cold, because like you can have cold traffic from TikTok, Meta, native, YouTube, whatever else, right? But here it's like not just cold, but it's like which platform. It's platform specific, right? And kind of knowing how people act on those different platforms. So going back to TikTok. And then even the device, right? How do people on mobile act versus people on desktop, right? So for here, for example, if you have mobile, basically the lowest attention span and mobile, right? Then you're like a 5. Okay, I know people have very short attention span. They only have 30 seconds. They're buying on mobile. That's a 5. I'm like, oh, my people are like, 70 plus on desktop computers who will sit through like a 30-minute VSL. Okay, that's probably like a 1 or a 2, right? So that's how you can kind of think of this one here. All right, a few more to go. So payment friction and financing options. Okay, like if I look at payment friction, like if I look at like what a 5 looks like there, it would be like something that's like free and it's like a very easy checkout. So I think it's pricing, but it's also like it's really easy. Hey, let's go here, check out. I mean, if you don't have to put a credit card in at all, to me that's a 5, because then you're like, okay, like, hey, put your name and your email, and I'm going to send you this free guide, right? Very little friction, which is why an opt-in, I'm going to send you this free training, whatever it is, right? It's why an opt-in like that can, convert at 50 to 70%. You know what I mean? Versus put a card in immediately, you're really not like a 5. I probably just put free for this, right? But it's a really simple checkout. Cool. Now, if you're a checkout where there's sort of like, even buy now pay later is nice, but like, then that does actually add some friction with the buy now pay later steps for approval potentially. Or if something that's highly personalized or customized or configurable, right? Things like that are going to create more friction. And honestly, the reason that matters is you really need somebody. It's actually not just about the checkout page. It's the fact that you would want somebody to be like pretty heavily pre-sold by the time they get to that part, so that like they will sit through all the shit they have to sit through to actually check out, right? So I think that's a really important point. It's not just the checkout. It's like pre-sell them enough that when they get to the checkout, which might have additional friction, like they'll suffer through it, I saw something in the chat here. Oliver said, what businesses still have primarily desktop traffic? Clickbait offers. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody, it's pretty rare, but you're going to see the most of like older demographics. Like you'll still see a surprising number of people on desktop who are like, 60 plus type of thing. That doesn't mean like, it's definitely a mobile first world, but like you'll just see more of it. So when I say like back to that one on like mobile, I'm talking about when you're like 90% plus mobile, 100% mobile, whatever it is, right? I would almost look at it that way more than look at desktop. I'd look at it as like what percentage of my traffic and buyers and customers are mobile, and like sort of like the higher that percentage, generally, you know, as one of the factors. Again, remember you're gonna combine these all together. So even if they have a short attention span, but you're selling something that's $2,000 and you have no trust and all these other things, you're still going to probably need longer funnels, right? So that's why it's this kind of valuable thing to create this criteria. But if you're selling something like a free plus shipping or like a free guide on TikTok, primarily mobile, you want just a short fucking put your name in, get this stuff, testimonial, it works, credibility, boop, get it, right? So that's how you can think about it. Good examples of accordion sections. I mean, not off the top of my head, but we'll go through all the examples that are provided and maybe we can find some there. And probably have some swipes too, Will. If I don't find any on this call, remind me on WhatsApp and I can definitely find some. I just don't have any like prepared right now, but I'm sure I have some saved. Two more. Community and social proof assets, right? I've brought up social proof a bunch of times. Generally, if you have a ton of legit social proof, and that's like both like throughout a funnel, but also online, social media accounts, people are talking about you. If you have this big, community of 100,000 plus people that you can point to and show like, that folks are a member of it. Like if you have that level of rich social proof, you don't need as much time talking about your credibility, things like that. Whereas if you don't have all of that, going back to like in a VSL or an avatar or whatever it is, you're gonna be spending more time talking about like why you're credible, sharing case studies, things of that nature, right? So you see this all the time. I'll see it with like landers for opt-ins, webinars, what are even physical products, right? They're just like dude, the average ecom lander is like pretty minimalistic copy, bunch of reviews, a social proof, that's it, right? You'll get there's always gonna be exceptions, but like pure ecom, that's a really pure ecom, Crush just lives on social proof, and like you just don't have a lot of credibility. Like, hey, our brand's great, you know what I mean? Like, because the social proof speaks for you. Okay, and then the last one in these factors is really just like time for results or visible progress. Kind of similar to demonstrable proof in some respects, but it's sort of like the faster somebody can get a quick visible win, the less long it's be. Again, it kind of relates to demonstrable proof, to be honest with you. But where I think that we see this with people in our mastermind who are selling like supplements or even devices where they're like, hey, like in your first week, here's what you'll expect. In week 2 and week 3 and week 4, or this like, week 1, week 4, week 8, week 12, right? It's sort of creating those milestones of like, here's what to expect, even on a landing page. It makes sense, but especially it's extra important to have those sort of assets when you're selling a product that doesn't necessarily give you really quick visible wins, right? Versus again, like if something's like an instant wrinkle remover, you're like boom, right? If something's like, hey, like you're gonna get your first client tomorrow, right? Like I'll show you how in the next week. And you have social proof around it, you don't need to spend as much time saying what's going to happen 4 weeks from now, 8 weeks from now. I mean, you can, it's still not a bad idea, frankly. It's called future pacing, right? But like, essentially, that's this one. Again, it's not to me the most important one in this list, but because of like the way the grading system works, we'll keep it, right? And so again, highest score is usually the least copy, like ad, PDP, cart. Medium, ad, quiz advertorial, 8-minute VSL or longer form landing page, cart. Now again, for this, you could do this as like this could be an in-feed kind of mini VSL ad to the quiz advertorial. I mean, that's the thing too. I mean, honestly, I'll put it in here so we can see it like, let's do it like this. Structure number 1. And then let's go to like, I hate the spacing, but I don't know what deal with it or not. So whatever. Structure number 2 could be like, I just more than one, maybe like let's call, let's go. I have 8 to 15 here. I'll come back to that. So let's see, 3 to 10 minute feed video ad. You know, probably to a quiz advertorial. And then sort of like I mean, similar. The point is on this one. I don't want to say test. We did talk about advertorials before. This is actually a structure a lot of people in here run. So I think that structure works pretty well. This is your honestly probably mostly static ad or really short ad. So you can put that there like static ad for 30 to 60-second video ad, right? Obviously if you run like sort of like an in-feed kind of like mini VSL longer ad, then depending on how long it is, you could just go to PDP, cart, upsells, or you test go to a quiz or advertorial, right? And then again, if it's like you're really ranking low for all of these things, add often to advertorial if you need it. We talked about why you need advertorial. We did that training last week. VSL webinar, application checkout, potentially needing Ascension emails, right? And then it said iterate on one factor at a time. So it's like, thanks, ChatGPT. So I'm going to show this to everybody, but I actually think it's really helpful. I actually like it a lot. It's a really good way to think about any offer and funnel. And I think these are, very on point factors overall. And then, I'll share the deep research docs with everybody as well. So if you want to go look through like examples it has, like, I mean, it's interesting. It talks about Stansberry. Is it linking to these things? Let's find out. And let's see if Gemini is still blacked out. I don't know if it got stuck at 362 and I need to like refresh it or if it's still going. Let's see. I don't want to I'm afraid to stop it and then I have to redo it. But if it stays stuck here for a while, sometimes if you refresh it, you'll find that it's like better because I'm really curious. It's got Organifi, Gundry. And like I said at the beginning, it's called answer questions in just a second. It's like, that's why I do think there's like a kind of a value. Like I'll basically run a deep research prompt and at least like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Google usually. Because Google actually sucks for a lot of deep research things I've done recently, but then this one, it looks like it's gonna be fucking dope, right? But again, I don't know if it's like just if it overloaded it or what, but it's really interesting. So let's look at the chat here. For clarity, refresh will keep everything. Okay, cool. We'll do it in a second, Mark. Alfir said duplicate the offer. Well, Alfir, what was the duplicate the page? Let's see. Okay, I refreshed it. Maybe this is moving. I don't know. When I get the final output of this, I'll share it for everybody. Do you guys have any questions on this? Again, I know it was kind of heavy, but again, you'll get the document to go through it. And again, I do think it's pretty sick. I like it a lot. I think there's a lot of cool things to keep in mind. And I think, and again, the goal is like giving you that rule of thumb where it's like, it doesn't mean you're not going to test things. It's not like this is a golden rule, but like people, people are always looking for trying to figure out what structure to use. I think this helps. Ivor said, it's probably hard to answer about data, but how do you identify the bottleneck in your funnel, ads versus offer response structure? I'll answer that in 1 second. Mark, this is sick, pointing towards what's been in the back of my mind for so long. There isn't one golden funnel architecture, but depends on awareness, credibility. Yeah, cool, man. Awesome. Really glad you appreciate it. I'm glad you guys rejoined just in time to get the good stuff here. Ivor, for what you said there, how do you identify the bottleneck in your funnel? Yeah, it is hard to answer about data. I mean, I feel like it could almost be its own separate thing. I guess it's just like, because it comes out of metrics. Let me think about this in real time for a minute here. And for anybody who, if you don't have any questions, don't hop off. I understand. I won't be offended. I love you guys. But if you have questions, feel free to stay or you want to hear me answer this. Also cool. I probably start with like the end in mind. Ivor, if I'm thinking about this out loud. So if I'm like, what's my goal, right? Is my goal to acquire customers at like a positive ROAS on day 0, right? Like, okay, Yeah. Like, okay, cool. And so in order to do that, what do the metrics need to look like, right? With the current funnel, it's like, well, the AOV needs to be this, right? Or the CPA needs to be this, or the CPM or whatever it is. And I'd be like, okay. So then I probably would start, it depends, but I'd probably start, if I also depends on the funnel structure. But say I'm going to a landing page that's sort of like, it doesn't matter, product page or a VSL goes to a checkout. And then I'm like, okay, well, like what percentage of people that go to the landing page are going to the checkout? And what percentage of people from the checkout are converting? And then I'm like, do those metrics seem in line with other people? I would get like some kind of benchmarks to measure against, right? Do those metrics seem pretty standard compared to what other people are seeing? If not, I might need to like look at that. Okay, I might need to like increase, do I need to improve the checkout conversion rate or the click-through rate? If I need to improve the click-through rate on the landing page or the VSL or whatever it is, or the advertorial too, right? Like, okay, that's probably a copy optimization. If I have like a heat map on like a landing page, I can kind of look how far people are going, where are they dropping off, are they clicking places where they're not supposed to click, whatever it is. But like, watch time on a VSL, right? Or a bunch of people just dropping off in the first few seconds and the thing goes like this, like that, instead of going like this, right? The watch time line, if it sort of just goes like this, or it goes like this, they're like, okay, well, that's the place to optimize. If the metrics look pretty good, I get the other part, then I guess concomitantly, which means at the same time, so flex my vocab, concomitantly, I would also definitely look at the ad metrics too, I guess, because if I'm seeing like, are my CPMs way higher than the average person, right? My cost per click's higher? I'm not an expert media buyer. I mean, obviously I run a lot of things where we're buying traffic. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would look at if it seems like those ad metrics are way out of line with what's typically seen, then look at that, because then it's sort of like, okay, if my funnel metrics look good, but my ads like, are those metrics are high, if I'm paying a lot of money for every click or every initiate checkout, every person who gets a checkout, then part of the issue is I need to get cheaper clicks to get to the checkout and to buy, right? So then I'm looking at sort of like something like my cost per click, and that's qualified. And like if I cut it, the cost per click in half and all the metrics stay the same, do I have a winner? If I have a winner, okay, cool. Then maybe that's the first place we should focus on, or simultaneously focus on that. Like, can we figure out how to get our, the cost per click down, right? Or maybe the CPM if Meta doesn't like my ads or whatever it is. So I'm like, I'm kind of looking at two things simultaneously. I'm looking at the ad side, and then I'm looking at the actual funnel metrics, and to the point where the bottleneck is, right? Or if I feel like everything's pretty good, I just need like the AOV. If I just had an extra $20 or $40 to play with, then I might be like, okay, well, like everything seems pretty solid. We just need to make more money with every sale. If we make more money with every sale, we can scale this thing. And then that's like a low-hanging fruit thing I would focus on there, right? So I know it's kind of an all over the place answer. It's hard to find data, but those are just some of the ways I think about it, at least. That makes sense. I feel like Gemini keeps breaking, so can refresh. Anyone else have any questions before we wrap here? Have you ever heard about the metric of AOV X conversion rate times conversion rate? I heard it's an agency or say if it's below 350, you need to focus on CRO, and this is the bottleneck in the business. AOV times conversion rate. So let's say, so $200 AOV times like what would that be? Like a 1.75% conversion rate? That's my best. I'll figure, I think that's interesting. I mean, I'd have to look at more real world data to like decide if I think that really is like a magical metric. But I think it's interesting. I mean, for us, I've talked about this in the past, like I tend to like look at our effective CPA a lot, but that's a different metric than a lot of people look at. Nobody really talks about it as much. If you go back to other trainings, you can find me talking about that and why I like that. So I'm sort of interested in like, what's my like, I'm almost more interested in building like a halo so that I can spend more on Meta, but then like, or wherever it is, but have my overall cost to acquire a new customer be lower. But I've done some trainings on effective CPA in the past. So if you want to see that, like, I think you can find one, and I've explained it if you look in the members area. But I think yeah, I think that AOV x CVR is interesting. I do also think though that most agency owners are like constantly trying to make up shit to like be thought leaders and get people, like, if you go on X, it's like, if you're not focusing on this, you're fucking up, bro. And it's also like, I got this person to 10,000 X ROAS, blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, well, how about the 20 other clients you guys have? So I don't know. I take it with a grain of salt, but I think it kind of makes sense. I think it's interesting. I just don't know. I haven't looked at data to see if 350 makes sense or what the number is, or if that's really a more important metric than some of the other metrics I just mentioned. But it's interesting for sure.
Yeah, I guess it's also niche specific. Like every niche has its own standard, I don't know, conversion rate and AOVs, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, let's say, okay, I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like, I like the idea as a rule of thumb, because like, let's say you're a lower ticket thing, so it's like a $50 AOV, but that means at a $50 AOV, your conversion rate needs to be like 7%. And that seems a little bit high on like any scale, even at $50 AOV. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think it'd be nice. It's doable, probably. Like, if you're, but it also depends on the funnel, right? If you're doing something where it's okay, it's like a $10 front end and you just get a bunch of that AOV on the back end, then like, I can see that making sense and working. So I don't feel like the person who said that's like a total fool, and it might be a decent rule of thumb. I don't know. I wouldn't make that my Bible metric necessarily, but I see where he's coming from, and I see how it could depend. I mean, even if you just sort of run it out, right? Okay, like $10 AOV, then you need what, like a 35% conversion rate, which is kind of high. So it might break down at some lower. I mean, again, I don't know if it works at every level, but like, $350 AOV, you need a 1% conversion rate. Probably, but frankly, you could probably be at a 0.8 or 0.7 or something. You know what I mean? So it's but it's rule of thumb is interesting.
Got it.
Cool. All right, Olivier said, would you still see value in a long form TSL VSL for a solution aware market? Like, get thin, watch this before you start GLP-1, or sort of like what Organics was doing with magnesium supplements, why 99% of mag supplements are a waste of money. You need 7 different kinds of magnesium to get the benefits by Mag 7, or is this a minimal lift implementation thing? I think it's something you can, I want to say, yeah, I can still see value. And it just sort of depends, I feel like. I do think it depends on and by that what I mean, like, well, like we tested some different VSLs with like Get Thin over the last year and a half. And some of them like kind of showed promise, but nothing was like, oh, this is so much better than what we're doing that like we're gonna devote a bunch of resources to it. It was sort of like 20% worse. It kind of seems neck and neck, but then we were always testing other things that were more higher priority. And they were short VSLs. They weren't like long form though, right? They were like 7-minute type of VSLs. I can't imagine a 30 or 40-minute VSL making sense for semaglutide. Again, I hate saying never, because I imagine there's just some brilliant person, or maybe myself, if I like to think, not only that I'm brilliant, but I mean, like, I like to think that I could make anything work if I really had enough cracks at it, right? But I don't have the juice to be worth the squeeze, back to the minimal lift, like implementation thing. I just don't know that'd be worth it, right? Especially when it's already working this way, and that would be like a lot of effort, and I don't know. I think you need to take a lot of cracks at it. Something like with a magnesium supplement, where it's a commodity, I feel like in a way I get that more, because I don't know, I feel like GLP-1s, like, they're prescribed medication, there's like zero doubt that they work. Whereas with like magnesium supplements, it's like there's a shit ton of magnesium supplements, there's different brands, there's different types. Like, I'm not sure which type works, which type doesn't work. I've heard some are a waste of time and money. Like, I don't think today, in this day and age, I mean, if I was going to do magnesium supplements, I can't imagine doing a VSL for it, but I get it more because you're trying to educate more on why this, like, this type of magnesium works when others don't. So I kind of get it. I still probably wouldn't start with that versus more of like an educational. I probably just do like an advertorial and then like a, kind of an ecom lander about why our magnesium is better. And I probably would maybe video ads right there. Like that's really my preferred funnel. I mean, that's what we're doing with Opal Beauty, which we're doing this whole rebrand of. I'll show you guys real quick. I don't have like the PDPs yet to show you, but let me see if I can find like our rebrand. It's gonna be fucking dope. But basically the funnel structure of Opal Beauty skincare company is like, really gonna be video ads, 30 seconds to a couple minutes long, PDPs, checkout, and then if we need to add an advertorials, we'll add advertorials, right? That's sort of my default for a lot of things. But let me show you guys a couple of the products. Very cool. So this is we've got a grass-fed beef like whipped tallow balm. I actually want to add, it's like a vanilla bean with it too, which is actually really important. That's on the label. I just noticed this is like a render. But this tallow is amazing. I've been using it. I actually went through my whole thing of it, and then my wife got it, has a jar, but then she got hers after mine, so I started using her jar, and now we go back and forth, right? And then there's like our Unity eye serum, which is a totally different formulation. To me, that's sexy, such sexy packaging. Come on, get out of here. But we've got really nice branding on it, like good brand assets, all that. So like we're not gonna do a VSL, but yeah, but my default is just like I said, like video ads to PDP, which we're gonna do ours kind of like Emma relief, so it's gonna be a little bit more copy than the average ecom page because we have less social proof to start. And then checkout. And as we get more social proof, maybe we'll test shorter landers, right? All that kind of stuff. But yeah. Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's so sexy. Like I said, thoughts on the Health Insider style Remy Law statistics that have random visuals and little clickbait to advertise. Can you send me? Do you have an example, Levi? You can drop in here. I can look at. Do you have like a link to one? Cool. Make sure. I'm just going through real quick. So, I mean, this style advertorial, I mean, if it's working, then it's working. I generally, and I get it, it looks very legit. Like it looks like a real news thing. So I understand, right? It seems like very, like I'm reading an article. And so for those cases, like the statistics kind of make sense. I typically don't love just starting out things with statistics as a general rule of thumb. The reason I've said in the past about it is like you're sort of anytime you start off with like, hey, lots of people struggle from this problem, and I'm like, I don't care about the general, I care about the specific. The specific is me, right? So like, I get it, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, if it's working, then more power to it. I mean, the images are cool, scientific. It seems like cool. I would test swiping it if I had the right thing for it. So yeah, I don't know. I like it. Ads library too. Let's see real quick. Oops, yeah, click on that. Let's see. And these, it kind of makes sense. It's smart. I like it. I mean, it's sort of like, again, I'm like, tiny. So if I click on this, it's gonna take me to the page, right? It's like interesting. They look like little like memes or like infographics almost, right? And I'm like, okay, like that's interesting. I want to learn more. I bet they get a really high click-through rate, to be honest with you. I would bet these ads get a phenomenal click-through rate. I kind of like it, frankly. That's dope. Yeah, I'd love to see how it goes for you, Levi, because I actually do. I think I wouldn't mind. I don't know if Ali's still in this call or not, but Ali, I wouldn't mind like trying to style for what we're doing. I mean, I think it'll be different because it wouldn't be like necessarily so factual, but again, I get it. It's like sort of an article, like it makes sense. But I actually really like this style. I'm gonna say that. Thank you for sharing, because I don't know if it works for everybody, but I totally get it. And I get it when it goes, and I get the congruency, right? There's like a payoff, because if I'm going from this thing that's gonna kind of show me like it feels like an article, whatever it is, like it makes sense that I go to something that feels like an article also. So yeah, I get it. It seems cool. Anybody else before we wrap?
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
one question.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
No worries, you
Yeah,
can
I
go
think
ahead
there
if
was
you
some.
want.
Yeah, it's not urgent, but I have a question. So why do you think Golden Hippo are launching different brands, solving the same problems, with different authority figures?
I mean, I think it's, market saturation. Like, it's sort of like the authority figure that resonates with one segment of the market might not resonate with another segment of the market. So when you have different authority figures, you could have different like touch points, right? One might be like one appeals to guys 50 plus, one appeals to women 35 plus, one appeals to women 50 plus, all of that. And then, different brands is sort of like, I mean, it's, partly probably just having different companies and assets, also, I don't know their current structure and model, but in some cases, maybe somebody, it's like Agora, it's the publishing model, right? So it's like maybe that somebody kind of has ownership of each brand and they try and grow it that way, and you get this big aggregate. I would assume that's the answer.
Got it. Okay.
We talked about like VShred, for example. I mean, VShred, they was like only Vince, and like they were constantly like they wanted to get away from only Vince because it's like there was still some segment of the market that might not appeal to Vince. So now they have like Dr. Drew, and they have that chick from American Gladiator. They haven't really fully executed on that, but strategically it makes sense. Where again, different spokespeople are going to speak to different people and different brands. If I keep seeing the same brand I didn't buy, then it's like, okay, maybe they'll speak more to a different brand with a different ethos or style. So, but again, I wouldn't really be trying to do that until I'm pretty large, though.
Yeah, it's just like hard for me to believe that the customer they're trying to target in, like, for example, like Dr. Gandry is different than the customer in Roundhouse.
Yeah, I mean, again, but maybe there's something. They've seen, I mean, Gundry's around for forever. So if you're like, there's very well maybe some like, percentage of their total addressable market, like 20%, 30% is like, oh, I bought from that Dr. Gundry before, or like, I don't like Dr. Gundry, or oh yeah, I've seen that guy all over the place. It was like a fatigue, right? It's like a ad fatigue, like a banner blindness. And so I think that could apply to a spokesperson as well, right?
Yeah, I think they might also exclude maybe buyers from Dr. Gandry on Roundhouse ads, maybe. What do you think?
Could be, yeah. I'm not sure, but it would make sense. Potentially. Cool. Good question. And who else had a question?
Yeah. Stefan, I want to ask you, could we do a training going more specifically on the funnels and like why do you believe they work? For example, for us works 25-minute VSL to an advertorial.
Yeah.
Like this sounds counterintuitive, or somebody runs like Dr. Gundry sometimes runs an hour-long VSL to a quiz funnel.
Right.
Like all these weird funnel combinations, and in which cases do you believe they perform the best?
Yeah, we can definitely do something on that. I mean, the challenge I think is just like, I mean, it's probably something where we can just do like, different funnel breakdowns like on different calls. But I just sort of feel like it's hard because the super annoying answer of like, oh, you just got to test. Like, I just feel like there's cases where like, like what a 25-minute VSL advertorial does seem counterintuitive, but it's working for you. So it's like phenomenal. But I would guess like 9 out of 10 people in here would run the same thing and it would not be their winner, or like
Yeah.
8 out of 10. So it's kind of like for some reason, I mean, we can go through your funnel, right, on a call if you're down. Like, I mean, or whatever. I'm down to do that, like, and try to guess, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to know truly, and that's why the testing thing is so important,
Yeah. Okay.
But we can definitely do more funnel breakdowns and stuff like that, and dissections and sort of guessing why they work, because I enjoy doing that stuff anyway. I'll go back to Aaron in a second. Mark, for guys running DR heavy ecom stuff, What tracking attribution do you use? I know, yeah, Levi said triple whale. People like, yeah, we still use Hyros for the most part for what stuff we do, which we're pretty happy with. And we use well, Red Track from Meta specifically, and then Hyros is sort of like our overall sales tracking. Let me see. Aaron said, "Can you expand on the statistic thought? We see statistic heavy ads crack well, as long as the stats are actually relevant to the core position." Yeah, I mean, Aaron, I just historically, like, I think it could work in an ad. I think it depends. I don't know. I think if it's an interesting like stat that somebody like is, I don't know. I guess test everything. I just historically never liked statistics because I always felt like when you share statistics, it was like you're kind of speaking to a general population, and people, like I said, are more interested in the specifics. So like, it started like a VSL, for example. If it's like, did you know that 85% of people struggle with X, Y, Z? It's like, to me, it's like, for most niches, I'm like, yeah, great, but like, tell me about me and my problem. But the market continues to change and evolve, and so it may well be that, you know, that's just an opinion I had that was maybe right in the past. It may not be as right anymore. Like I said, those ads that are showing statistics and going to landers, like I actually think that's a pretty good structure, so I like that. So it probably depends on the context as well. And I guess it depends on the market too. Like I think for a female heavy market, I kind of feel like statistics can make more sense. Maybe again, I'm just sort of, maybe I'm full of shit. I don't know. But like, because it's like, hey, you're not alone, girl. Hey, a bunch of women are going through this. We're all in it together, whatever it is, right? Versus in a male market where I feel like, whatever, I don't care about those guys. Like, I care about me. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have a really like, that's just something I observed over the years, but it could well be that's changed, and I need to update my belief set on that. See how it's really boost revenue. I don't know, boost revenue, but it helps us make good decisions. You know. Anything else, guys, before we wrap? Going once, going twice, 3 times, gone. All right, thanks everybody. Appreciate it. Enjoyed it. I'll make sure everyone gets access to all this stuff, and talk soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.